You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Raise your hand if you're ready to finally stop taking work home with you and actually start taking a lunch break. Or spend more time helping students, the reason you got into this profession, and less time doing stuff like bus duty. And if you're ready to finally use data to showcase the importance of your program and the progress your students have made. If any of those things sound like you, then I have got the ultimate solution for you, and that is my stress-free school counseling course. Now you may be thinking, wait, you've talked about this before. I have. So my stress-free school counseling course used to only be launched a few times a year, but now it is available all year long. And it is at a discounted price. This is perfect if you're the counselor who wants to work through it at your own pace. If instead of going through with a cohort and doing things together, you want to get to it when you can because you have a busy schedule. But first, let's see if you're even the right fit. Does this sound like you? You're a new counselor who wants to get started on the right track and not make mistakes and then redo things later. Or maybe you're a veteran counselor and you're feeling burnt out. Or maybe you're just a counselor who feels overwhelmed and stretched too thin. It's so hard to do all the things at once. Or maybe you're a counselor determined to change your program from reactive to proactive. Well, you're in the right place. Stress-Free School Counseling is totally for you. It's a 5-module digital course. So what that means is you get to watch video modules of me talking to you, just like I do here on the podcast, and teaching you in different areas like scheduling, organization, data collection, advocating for your role, and handling pushback. If this sounds like something you may be interested in, if you're a lifelong learner and can't wait to improve your counseling program, you're going to love this. And of course, it's stress-free. Head over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/enroll to get started today. Hey there, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So like I said last week, during November, each week we're focusing on a different counseling area you can strengthen that is going to improve your program big time. And those areas are scheduling, we talked about last week, organization, data collection, advocating, and handling pushback. So today we're going to focus about organization. Now before you check out, because organization sounds boring, or you already have in your head this limiting belief that you're not an organized person, or you're bad at it, or on the contrary, maybe you think, I'm already super organized, I don't need this episode. Hang tight with me for a second because I think you'll find this strategy helpful. I'm going to show you how you can organize your caseload using a simple spreadsheet, but it's a total game changer. It helps you keep tabs on all your students to make sure no one falls through the cracks. Now, similarly to last week, I have a recent training I did on this, so I'm going to play that where I do a deep dive on exactly how you can use this at your school site. I'll catch you on the other side. My secret organization strategy to maximize your productivity is to create a caseload spreadsheet. So before you check out and think spreadsheets are boring, I have to share this with you. My caseload spreadsheet is how I keep track of all the individuals and small group students that I'm seeing. I like to use Google Sheets for this, so you could use Excel or you could even do a paper version, but I really encourage you to use Google Sheets because it's free. You have those sharing capabilities, so you can access it across devices and share it with other people if you need to. Amanda loves spreadsheets, so do I. So let's talk about what it looks like in action. So here's an example of mine. So we'll go through column by column. Now, it's kind of 2 sections. The first 5 columns here are identifying factors. So things like the student's name, their teacher, their grade level, their area of need, so what they're seeing you for, the counseling type. So this is whether they're seeing you in a group or individually. And then after that, those are the identifying factors. The second part here is more of a checklist. So this is where you're tracking if you've received the referral, who you received the referral from. So under there you could write, did you get it from a parent? Did the student self-refer? Did their teacher refer them? And then it's a checklist of sorts. Did you contact the parent? Have you sent home a permission slip? Have you received the permission slip? Have you contacted the teacher to find out the best time to meet with the student? Have you scheduled the sessions in your calendar? So you could write yes or no. You could even insert those check boxes to make it a little easier. So if you look at some examples here, you'll notice that I have different colors. So the reason for that is I like to use colors to sort the groups because, again, I love to color coordinate because at a glance, you can kind of see who's with what. because you may be forming your groups, but then someone gets added, a week or two later. So then if you use the same color, you can still see that they're in the same group as those students. Now, I want to share some tips for creating your caseload spreadsheet. So like I mentioned, I like to use the different colors to indicate small groups. And then I like to use an asterisk or star if I'm seeing them both individually and in a group. This way, if you're collecting data later on, you're not going to accidentally double count them. So sometimes you may see a student individually, so you would just leave that, the white color. And then if you're seeing them in a group, you would add the color there. So how does this spreadsheet help you impact more students? Well, you're going to ensure that no one slips through the cracks. So this best serves all your students. This has happened to me before when I was first starting out, where the principal would say, hey, what's going on with that one student? Did you receive a permission slip back from their parents yet? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I go dig in my folder and I have 50 permission slips in there and they're all not categorized alphabetically. And it's really difficult. Or if you get a referral, maybe you get a verbal referral from a teacher while you're walking from lunch to a class lesson and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll make a note of it. Then you simply forget, right? This is a way for you to have a tab and almost like a status update on all students that you're seeing in your caseload, so you can know if someone asks you exactly what the status is of that student. And that's how you advocate for your position, helping you to get the recognition that you deserve. You can quickly answer the status of their services, which makes your admin and your teachers see how valuable your services are. Don't you see how powerful this tool can be? So I want you to think about how you can use this at your school. So tell me in the comments, how could this organization spreadsheet best help you? Do you think it could, 1, help you keep track of permission slips, 2, help you form small groups, or 3, keep track of parent contact? So as you put your answers in, I'll go back and answer a couple questions up here. Let's see. Haley gave up on her paper spreadsheet after a week. Yes, paper can be overwhelming. Definitely need this. Yes, because then you can move the students around. And I had someone ask last night on the call, what do you do if you have completed like your 8 weeks with them? So what I recommend is you can have tabs there at the bottom and you can just copy paste, move them to the completed tab. That way you don't want to delete it, so you can count this for data when you're tracking services provided, which we'll get to in my data tracking tip. Cindy says, I need to keep a record of each meeting, each session, each communication. Can it somehow be integrated into this? Yes. So this is the caseload spreadsheet. So when I say your caseload, now remember, as a school counselor, you're responsible for delivering that tier 1 class lesson intervention to all students at your school. But if you have 700 kiddos at your school, I don't want you writing all 700 of them here. This spreadsheet is just for those groups and individual students that you're seeing. So if you're seeing them in a group, if you've received a referral, you're seeing them in group or individual, they're on this sheet. Now, Cindy, I think what you're referring to is more of a counseling log. That's where you're tracking when you're seeing the kids, what you're working on, and parent communication. So I use another spreadsheet for this. I can share that with you later, an example of what that would look like. At the end of this, just remind me and I can send you an example. But basically, that's what I call my counseling log. I also do it on Google Sheets. And you can have those like together in a counseling hub of sorts. But this is just the caseload spreadsheet where you're keeping track on who you're seeing and the status update of them. Angela asked, how is this applied at the high school level? Well, I think it would be applied the same way. So any students that you're seeing individually or in small groups, you would have, those identifying factors, their name, their teacher, their grade level, the reason you're seeing them. And then you're, keeping tabs on if you're seeing them in individual or group, if you've gotten permission for them, things like that. So let's see what you guys are thinking, how it could best help you. So we've got tracking. Yes, tracking permission slips. Chelsea said forming small groups. Amanda said forming small groups. Yeah, it's great for forming small groups because you'll start to see, when it's in this nice organized fashion, you can see, oh, look, I have a lot of individual referrals all over the same topic. Maybe these students would do well in a group together. And groups are great because they save you time, right? Back to scheduling. You can, make an impact and see more students at one time if they have a similar area of need. Leanne said all. Kendra thinks it would help her keep track of permission slips. Brandy said all 3. Leanne loves it. Yes, good. I love it too. Nicole said all 3 and more. Yes. Leanne already made one. Perfect. I love this. All 3. Parent contact. Absolutely. Patricia says she loves using spreadsheets for keeping track of individuals and groups especially. keeping track of verbal referrals. I mean, you can get as fancy as you want. If you do digital, like a Google form, permission slip or referral form, you could even link to those in here. Like you could keep it all digital. Alyssa, all 3+ help staff realize how busy I am. Yeah, but seriously, that's how we advocate for our role, right? You're showing them this is how many students I'm serving. And we're going to get to that in my next tip. But let's see what you guys are saying. I'm so glad you're loving this. Tammy said, I enter each session into a Google form, then I can import to a spreadsheet. Okay. But the spreadsheet changes every time I see another student. Do I need a separate SS from this? So I'm a little confused. You're saying you enter each session into a Google form. So I think what you're talking about is your sessions, those would be logged on like a counseling log. That's where you're going to track how often you're seeing the students and when you're seeing them. This is just a general who you're seeing. So this isn't necessarily when you're seeing them. Don't think of this as sessions. Think of this as students. Emily said number 3, awesome. Nicole, I tend to look for all the components on the spreadsheet and have to go through so many papers to find what I'm looking for. I like this because everything is in one place, easy and quick access. Yes, absolutely. That's why I do it too. And if you're still on a paper model, that's fine. Like if you get a paper permission slip, check it off on your thing and then stick it in a file folder. So you don't have to go completely digital. You can still have some paper forms, but you're not like wrestling through things to find them. You have it right there. Cindy thinks it's brilliant. I love it. Yep, you can. Maria's asking, she might use this to track all referrals and how I triage thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're trying to determine, you have a limited amount of time on when you can see students, you can track the referrals. What I would recommend to make the most of your time is if the students aren't a, super individualized need, I would try to form groups so you could, serve more students. Tanya's asking for the counseling log. Okay. Yes. At the end of this presentation, I will share an example of the counseling log. Good. I'm glad you all want to see it. I should have added that to this presentation. Nicole said group saved her life. Definitely. Tammy said she's already keeping a log. Catherine, do you use a particular template for the spreadsheet? So I have just created this one. I'll share later how you can access the templates I have for things like this. Patricia says she has a counseling log as well. And one for frequent flyers, Tammy's mentioning. Yes, I love it. I hope your gears are turning thinking of how you can use this Caseload spreadsheet at your school. Maybe you already have something kind of bare bones similar, but you can really enhance it based on the strategies that I've given you today. So I hope you found the training super duper helpful. Again, I have a freebie for you guys. So if you want to get more organized, check out the Stress-Free School Counseling Organization Toolkit. I'll link to that in the show notes. It has some more free strategies and visuals for you because I know many of you are visual learners like myself. Kind of ironic I have an auditory platform. Also, organization is what we focus on in Module 2 of my Stress-Free School Counseling course. So again, Stress-Free School Counseling is a 5-step framework that I've created for school counselors so they can increase their impact and get the recognition they deserve. And they do this through maximizing their productivity. And one way we can maximize our productivity is by getting more organized. So the whole course is designed to not be overwhelming, but to give you simple solutions that you can implement at your school site right away. We've had hundreds of counselors join who absolutely love it, and I would love for you to check it out. So if that sounds like something you're interested in or that would make your counseling life a whole lot easier, go over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/enroll. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.